Good morning and welcome to Morning Moments. I'm so glad that you made it again for another Morning Moments. And today I have someone again in the film industry, and I'm just so thrilled to have with us Lisa Arnold. She is a filmmaker, and she is with the production company Check the Gate Productions. And I'm so delighted to have her as my guest today. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Andy. I'm really appreciate it. I'm excited.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do and why do you do it? And why do you go through all what you do to make films?
Well, it's a great season for me. I'm still a wife for many, many years. I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, and I have two of my grandchildren actually living here right now because of the storm Ida, which is wonderful, a nice blessing to come out of that. But then beyond that, I'm a filmmaker. So I am a writer, director, and producer of films, mostly are faith-based or family-friendly or female-driven projects, and love every day of it. I love every bit of the journey.
So you like taking a project from the beginning, you said the writing of it, and taking that baby of pregnancy all the way from birth to growing that film up, right?
It is a birthing process. Yes, a very good way to put it. I do love that process. I love it when, the Lord gives me an idea and it marinates in my head. And then the next thing I know, it's like a direct download and I'm writing the script. And then, shortly after that, we're filming it and seeing that whole creative journey. It is one of the most incredible gifts that God has given me, to just be able to experience that. But that's not with every project. Sometimes I come in, the script's already created, they just ask me to direct it or produce it. Sometimes I come in and do, rewrites for people, and then we enter the process. So it has many shapes and different ways of doing it, but always it's just a fun journey. It absolutely is. It's this time that I spend on set is one of the sweetest times that I have in my life.
It's amazing sometimes from chapter one, or sometimes you pick up on chapter 3 or 12, so to speak, on the process of that film. And there's so many things that can go right and so many things can go wrong through that whole process, isn't it?
It's true. And you never know how long the journey is going to be. Sometimes projects just roll really quickly. You write it and then you're immediately into production, and then it's released quickly after that. And then other times it's like 7 years trying to get the script right, and then seeing it come to fruition. So you really never know what you're in for. You just got to keep laying it before the Lord and let his timing, happen when it's supposed to happen.
There's such an importance of collaborative effort. Sometimes you think you've got all the answers, but when you step back and you get creative minds working and they go, no, why don't we do this? And why don't the old what ifs? And I always love to hear, what if? Well, tell me your what ifs so that we can talk about it. And then it goes a different direction, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But, the collaboration is one of the things that I love most about filmmaking, because I always see the director's position as the lowest instead of at the top. I know it is the director's job to, bring to life the artistic side of the story, but everybody has something to add to that. And so I will tell the crew immediately at our first table read, I'm here to serve. I'm here to equip you. I want to know your ideas. I want to know what you think is best for this film. I want us all to be all in on it so that we use all of our gifts, for the film, because everybody brings something different to the table and you don't want to leave anything off.
And sometimes it's the differences of the team that brings strength, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you can shift on a dime. Like the last project that I just finished filming, we were going to go with one director of photography, and we ended up shifting to another director of photography. Well, his greatest gift was that he's a Moby master. And so the shot list went out the window, the schedule went out the window, because it's a very different process. But we needed to use his gifts to bring what he could to the table.
I heard one time in a leadership meeting, if you and I agreed on everything, one of us wouldn't be necessary. So
That's so true. That's excellent. That's really great. But it's really cool to see each time God bring the team together and weed out things that we may think we need or people we may need. And, you just gotta really lay it at his feet and trust him all the way through. And, this last one was an interesting journey because there were 3 people that got let go, just right before filming. And so you had to trust that, we didn't freak out. We didn't, for whatever reason, it wasn't that they let go, but it just didn't work out. And for whatever reason, God had it, and he brought us the perfect team.
yeah. And there's the part of trusting
Yeah.
that God is in control and
Yeah.
not to panic. And whenever anything happens, I always say, whenever anything happens in life, I ask the question, do you think that surprised God? No, I don't think it's.
No, but it did help us to stay in the moment with him, trust him that much more. And definitely, I look at the blessing that came out of the 3 people that were put onto the project. And I'm just like, thank you, just so grateful. And, when you're making a film, it's a moving train. Like there's no place, like, it just keeps going. So you've got to go with it. But if you trust the Lord, you won't have the anxiety through it. It'll be a whole peaceful transition. And I have to say, I think if you talk to anybody on the set, they would say it was a joyous time. It was a time where they all felt appreciated and loved on and felt the Lord's presence daily. And, we did try and pray every day before filming and just lay it at his feet and just really make sure that everything we were doing was not only done with excellence, but was done with his words in mind, with his ministry in mind.
Quite often when I hear people's stories, and it doesn't have to be just films, I think of a terminology I call transferable knowledge. There's knowledge that can be transferred no matter what we go through in life into the next journey. And things that you're sharing about the collaborative effort and letting God be God and trusting that he's going to take care of it is nothing different than what we do on a day-to-day basis with our families, with our jobs, and not just filmmaking, but anything in life. And those are great lessons to learn about trusting him and stepping back and not being ahead of God, not be behind him, and let him be beside us, leading the way. And those are just great transferable knowledge pieces that we could gather from any industry and any walk we have with God.
Absolutely true. And it really helps you to appreciate every moment in whatever you're doing in your life if you're looking at it through those lenses.
Is there anything during these changing times that you feel that the lessons learned or God has spoken to you about that stands out that you've learned during this time?
I think definitely COVID has put us all in a reflective time. It in so many ways, it brought us back to family, to unity, to community, to supporting each other, being there for each other. And even though it's been a horrific thing to walk through, and all of us have lost loved ones, through this pandemic, the upside of it was that life got to slow down, and we got to assess and see and feel what was really important in our lives. And sometimes that's not a moment that we get, sometimes life just takes over and we're on that roller coaster ride and we're just struggling to keep up. And the way that the pandemic caused us all to halt and stop and, take a beat, in so many ways was that part was really kind of a blessing to be able to especially to be in a bubble with your family. How many of us get those moments anymore? I mean, I know in Europe and different countries, they take a lot more time off in the year than we do. But when you're talking about, like, my husband only gets 2 weeks off in a year, but during that he got to work from home. So it was like that part was really, great that we got to spend much more time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell people, as a nurse, I have never heard anybody at their deathbed say, I wish I'd worked harder and I wished I'd got that promotion. They're
Yeah.
always saying, I wish I spent more time with the people I love. And I
Yeah.
think it puts back the
Things in perspective.
where our priorities should be. And
Mhm.
real good. Well, Lisa,
Yeah.
it has been a pleasure to have you on Morning Moments. Down below in the credits, I am going to put the films that you've done, films you're working on, so that people can keep an eye on what's going on with you and your film industry and your production company.
Yeah.
More important than that, when you think of Lisa Arnold, if you see this recording, at the end of the recording, stop and pray for Lisa. Pray for Lisa and her
Oh, thank
company. Pray that God would continue to bless her, that she would be a light to the darkness. She's doing some powerful films to bringing to light into some things that needs to be a light shown on them. And I want you to pray for her. And I want to thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you so much. And the same, Lord, I just praise you for what you're doing through Andy and through his life. And I just pray that you'll continue to lift him up and let him air these interviews, and may your love be shown through them each and every time. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And thank you for, what you do in the hospitals and the nurses that you're training. I mean, such incredible love and support. I don't know how the first responders have made it through this time and continue to.
Well, thank you so much. And for you, thank you for joining me for Morning Moments, and keep coming back.